This is another in the series of Nasis videos that I'm creating for training. This one is going to be on the export process, and it's geared more towards a state soil scientist to understand the entire process of loading up Nasis data and taking it to the staging server. I'm going to try to keep these at 10 minutes, so if I end up and finish up on one particular task, I may create another 10-minute video on additional tasks. So just be aware of the fact. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do is load data. And one of the things that I want you to be aware of is we've got some queries that allow you to load up the data. Now, you'll notice some of these queries are listed with official data. And the reason why they're identified that way is because they look for those legends that are identified as geographical applicability set to current wherever mapped. That's the column that we use to identify that that particular legend is up on the soil data mart. So I'm going to use this one that says NAT, and what I'm going to do is it's already on my favorites. So I'm going to go up to my favorites and open my favorites up, and there it is right there. Now I'm going to right click, or I could use the icons, or I could use the menus. But I'm going to run this against the national database. And I'm going to choose the legend, and I do not need pedons, sites, or transects, because this is information that I'm going to be sending up to the staging servers, essentially what I'm going to be doing here, exporting the data. My first step in this is going to be choosing a survey. Now, I could choose everything in the state of Kansas if that's what I wanted to do, or I could choose a specific survey in Kansas. And most likely, as a state soil scientist, you're going to choose to load up the entire state. Now, the reason why I'm not going to do that in this example is because of the amount of time that it'll take. So I'm only going to load up one particular survey, and that's it. So here I am, I'm going to run this, and it's going to go up to the national database, and it's going to extract the legend map unit and data map units. Keep in mind the area is already in your local database, so you don't need to, you won't be able to query the national database for areas. They're already in your local database. Here's the legend, the list of map units, and this is all the map units associated with that legend, and all the data map units associated with that legend. Remember, this is everything associated with that legend. There's 108 map units in this, and there's 174 data map units. I'm going to accept this, and it'll go up to the national database, and then bring all of that information down to my local database. And now you can see it moving through the steps. And you'll see that it's national now and it's local now. Now that everything's downloaded, it's in my local database right here. All right, I used the NAT query because it just goes, there's no filters other than the fact that I want the official data. I no longer need my local database because I know what's in it, so I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go over to, just as a matter of semantics to show you what's going on, I'm going to load up my legend, my map unit, and my data map unit. And you'll notice there is nothing in there. I'm going to come back over to my queries. Okay, the comparable query is the area legend map unit, data map unit by area symbol for official data. And now when I run this one, I'm going to run this against the local database. And when I run this against a local database, I'm going to choose the area because I want the area loaded. I'm going to choose the legend map unit, the map unit, and the data map units. Now, there's a lot of things that you need to understand about the export process, but what I'm going to do here is load up the information that I want to export out. The area symbol, I only have one area symbol in here, but I'm going to go ahead and enter it anyway. I could put an asterisk there and let it go. I only want the correlated map units, and I only want the representative data map units. And then I run this. I could choose to check this out if I was going to edit the data, but I'm not editing any of this data. So I'm not going to check out the data when I run this. I run it. Now I get 45 legend map units, 45 map units, and 45 data map units. And if you remember, when you compare that to the previous, we had 105 map units and over 200 data map units. I'm only getting the official data here. So now I run this particular query, and lo and behold, here it is. There's my map units, there's my data map units, and there is my legend. Here is my legend map unit table. Now keep in mind, I'm going to show this to you because you need to be aware that what I loaded was all of the just data map units, and what's in a data map unit is all the components that are contained within that data map unit. Now this particular set of data, you'll notice I've got in some of these data map units, the newer data map units, I've got a whole suite of different components. Now, in the history, some people only wanted to send to the Soil Data Mart the major component and the hydrant component. All right, there is a query to do that, and I'm going to scroll down through Pangea until I get the area L map unit, major comp, and hydrant comp. And this one I'm going to add to my favorites. And here is this particular query, and I'm not going to run it to fruition, but I am going to show you that here's the area map unit, the legend map unit, the map unit, and the component. Why did I choose component this time versus data map unit the first time versus component the second time? The reason why is this query is designed to pull only the major components and only the hydrant components. And so in doing so, that hydrant component rating is at the component table. So that's the lowest table that I have to query on. And so I choose the component as a target table to pull only those components I want, major component and hydrant components. And then of course I would put in KS169 or KS star or whatever I chose, and that would load up those particular records in my selected set. So there are other options that you need to be aware of. You don't have to load up everything. Okay, now returning back, we're going to use this particular suite of data, all 45 map units and all 45 data map units. And we're going to send those over to the staging server. The first step is you're going to choose the exports Explorer, and you're going to choose a new export. Now in some instances, after you've done this a while, you'll be able to go back and refer to a previous export, and that is in the documentation for that particular in chapter 17 of the Nasis user guide. I go into more details on this. So we are going to send to the staging server this set of data. We're going to choose the legend map units that are in the selected set. We're going to choose the data map units that are in the selected set. We're going to use the representative from which it's correlated. And we're going to choose all components in the selected set. We could choose only the major components. We could choose a specific percent, comp percent to do it. Or had I came in here and loaded up just the major components and the hydrant components, I could have then come in here and chose components in the selected set. So those are your options. If you're only going to send up major components and hydrant, then make sure your selected set contains that, and then choose the components in the selected set. Otherwise, if you're sending all of your components up, then choose all components to your selected set. All right. Next to that is going to be the selection of all the interpretations. Under the bulletin 430-13.9, it states that all of the Pangea interpretations are to be sent up to the staging server. And the reason why we're doing that is because it provides one consistent suite of interpretations that can be uniformly developed for CONUS maps. So all you saw me do is click, highlight, shift-click to highlight the entire list. And I'm going to add that to the list. You also have at your disposal the regional interpretations that are the national regional interpretations, and you can choose any of these that you wish to complement your suite of particular interpretations for your state. And then the last would be, let's find an area that's got some, I think MO10 would have some, and then the other suite of soils that or interpretations would be any of those interpretations that are state coded with the parenthesis, state code parenthesis at the end of the particular interpretations. And that is critical that you understand that. These are the only ones that will be allowed to send to the staging server. Anything with the state code at the end. Make sure you're aware of what the results are of these interpretations before you publish this information. That's the only thing you need to be aware of. So I'm going to return back to Pangea. So those are your set: Pangea, the regional, national, from the NSSC regional interpretations, or any state coded. And then you can look at view the text, and then you can select any of the texts that you wish to include. Make sure you do the component text, non-technical descriptions. Basically all your component information should be populated. Your map unit and your legend map units, you need to understand what data you have in your state as far as these text fields go. Keep in mind all components posted up to the staging server must have the component text note for generated national generated brief description, soil description. And then from here you're going to run the export. You'll click on run, and then it'll send that information up to the staging server. And when it's posted to the staging server, you'll get an email notifying you that it is available to go up there and then match with the spatial data. Now, before you take the time to run these exports, you need to verify this data. And all of this data has validations that need to be run. And you'll click on the calculation and validation, and then you'll click on validations, and then each one of these tables has got a validation. And you'll need to go through here and verify that these have all passed the validations. That's the reason why we've got these here, so that you can run it and be aware. One of them that you're going to have to run on all of your data is the generated brief soil description check, and that verifies that that particular suite of components all have their brief soils description. Okay, I want to stop here. I ran through the process of being able to generate and export to the staging server, and in the next video I'll discuss the staging server.